Hey, it's Andy XL back with another NFXL podcast. And now I'm going to look forward to day two of the 2026 NFL draft and the best remaining players. But before I do, I'll tell you that after day one, I predicted 28 of the 32 players that would go in round one. That, as I warned you before the draft, would be more accurate than anybody else out there. And of the contenders that I measure myself against, Tankathon got 26 right compared to my 28. Daniel Jeremiah, Dane Brugler, and Draft Tech got 25. PFF 24 and Draft Buzz 23. I only look at the people really that go beyond the first round in their predictions. So, as I say, I'm too clear of that, and once again, that makes me the most accurate. And I'll seek to maintain or extend that advantage on day two. So I'll do so by starting with the top, who's left of my top 65 that I told you about prior to yesterday. So four in here were first that I had as first rounders. Colton Hood was one I thought might benefit from Jamod McCoy's injury tainted slide. Denzel Boston and Emmanuel McNeil Warren missed out on the last first round scramble as teams went for specific positions late in the draft, trading backwards and forwards and here, there, and everywhere. Um, Cassius Howell and TJ Parker and Cassius Howell are at 33 and 32 on my board, and they're the next from an uber strong edge class. And ahead of this, looking at my top remaining players, defensive tackle, edge, cornerback, and inside linebacker could be flying off the boards early in round two, with a couple of guards competing for those picks too, as those five positions take up 18 of my top 20 in the best available on my big board. And we could see half a dozen wide receivers going round two as well. So here's the remainder of my 60, top 65. Now, number 20 was Colton Hood of the cornerback from Tennessee, so he's still there. 25, Denzel Boston, the wide receiver out of Washington. 26, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, the safety out of Toledo. 28, TJ Parker, the edge out of Clemson. 33, Cassius Howell, another edge guy out of Texas A&M. 34, Caden McDonald, the defensive tackle from Ohio State. 35 is Jamod McCoy, who, like I say, it would be interesting to see where he lands who takes a chance on him, considering his injury worries, or teams being worried about his injuries more accurately. So he's a cornerback out of Tennessee. Avion Terrell is a cornerback out of Clemson. He's at 36. 37, CJ Allen, the inside linebacker from Georgia. 40, Jacob Rodriguez, inside linebacker, Texas Tech. 41, Chase Bizontis, guard, Texas A&M. 42, Zion Young, edge, Missouri. 43, Trayton Stoops, cornerback, Arizona. 45, Lee Hunter, defensive tackle, Texas Tech. 46, R. Mason Thomas, edge, Oklahoma. 47, D'Angelo Pons, cornerback, Indiana. 48, Brandon Cece, cornerback, South Carolina. 49, Kristen Miller, defensive tackle, Georgia. 50, Anthony Hill, inside linebacker, Texas. 51, Emmanuel Pregnon, guard, Oregon. 52, Eli Stowers, tight end, Vanderbilt. 53, Jeremy Bernard, wide receiver, Alabama. 54, AJ Horsey, safety, LSU. 55, Gabe Yakas, edge, Illinois. 56, Keontae Scott, cornerback, Miami. 58, Jake Golday, inside linebacker, Cincinnati. 59, Antonio Williams, the wide receiver from Clemson. 60, another wide receiver, Chris Bell from Louisville. 61, the edge guys keep coming, Derek Moore out of Michigan. 62, offensive tackle, Jennings Dunker from Iowa. 63, Caleb Tiernan, offensive tackle, Northwestern. 64, Carson Beck, quarterback, Miami. And 65, Chris Brazell, the wide receiver out of Tennessee. So those 33 who did not go in round one are the favourites to get taken in round two for me. Those are the top having the best shot at not having to wait long on day two to find out where they will play in the NFL. So a quick drink. Now I move on to numbers 66 through 100. So these are the ones that could well get into round two, but maybe more round three type candidates. Again, the top more likely round two or three, the bottom less likely to make round two and possibly even slide into day three. So, excuse me, clear my throat before I just list all of these off. I'm not going to mess about. 66, Carl Lewis, inside linebacker, Pittsburgh. 67, Zachariah Branch, wide receiver, Georgia. 68, Malachi Fields, wide receiver, Notre Dame. 69, Kayron Crawford, edge, Auburn. 70, Elijah Sarrett, wide receiver, Indiana. 71, Dennis Sutton, edge, Penn State. 72, Max Clare, tight end, Ohio State. 73, Josiah Trotter, edge, Missouri. 74, we finally get another running back, Mike Washington out of Arkansas. 75, Jalen Kilgore, cornerback, South Carolina. 76, DeZorn Stribling, wide receiver, Ole Miss. 77, Keith Abney, cornerback, Arizona State. 78, Bud Clark, safety, TCU. 79, Malik Mohammed, cornerback, Texas. 80, Romulo Height, edge, Texas Tech. 81, Grayson Horton, defensive tackle, Oklahoma. 82, Dion Burks, wide receiver, Oklahoma. 83, Ted Hurst, wide receiver, Georgia State. 84, Genesis Smith, safety, Arizona. 85, Dominique Orange, defensive tackle, Iowa State. 86, Austin Barber, offensive tackle, Florida. 87, Markel Bell, offensive tackle, Miami. 88, Sam Hecht, centre, the first centre from Kansas State. 89, Dalen Everett, the cornerback from Georgia. 90, Garrett Nussmeier, the quarterback from LSU. 91, Trey's little brother, or hope to be getting Trey called Bryce's big brother. It's Bryce Lance, the wide receiver from North Dakota State. 92, Sam Roush, the tight end from Stanford. 93, Jyshawn Barham, inside linebacker, Michigan. 94, Tyler Onyedim, defensive tackle, Texas A&M. 95, Connor Lew, centre, Auburn. 96, Davison Igbonison, cornerback, Ohio State. 97, Jalen Farmer, guard, Kentucky. 98, Devin Moore, cornerback, Florida. 99, Takario Davis, cornerback, Arizona. And 100, Logan Jones, another centre from Iowa. Now, those centres, there's a group of them all hovering towards the end of round 3. Now, some of those may go earlier as people clamour to get the first centre or what they see as the best one. So that's my top 100. Let's move on to numbers 101 to 130, who the candidates you might say are hopeful of getting into day 2 rather than expectant. And again, just a quick list here. So here we go. Oscar Delp, tight end, Georgia, is at 101. 102, Skylar Bell, wide receiver, Connecticut. 103, Joshua Josephs, edge, Tennessee. 104, Chris McClellan, defensive tackle, Missouri. 105, Darrell Jackson Jr., the defensive tackle from Florida State. 106, Zachy Wheatley, safety, Penn State. 107, Brennan Thompson, wide receiver, Mississippi State. 108, Kamari Ramsey, safety, USC. 109, Julian Neal, cornerback, Arkansas. 110, Trey Zune, offensive tackle, Texas A&M. 111, Chandler Rivers, cornerback, Duke. 112, Emmett Johnson, the running back from Nebraska. 113, Rayshawn Benny, defensive tackle, Michigan. 114, LT Overton, edge, Alabama. 115, Drew Aller, quarterback, Penn State. 116, Billy Schroth, guard, Notre Dame. 117, Harold Perkins, inside linebacker, LSU. 118, Jake Slaughter, center, Florida. 119, Michael Trigg, tight end, Baylor. 120, VJ Payne, safety, Kansas State. 121, Charles Demings, cornerback from small school, Stephen F. Austin. 122, Bryce Bircher, cornerback, Oregon. 123, Caleb Proctor, defensive tackle, Southeast Louisiana. 124, the first of 2 Penn State running backs, Catron Allen. 125, Justin Joly, tight end, NC State. 126, Jacoby Lane, wide receiver, USC. 127, Jonah Coleman, running back, Washington. 128, Will Lee III, cornerback, Texas A&M. 129, Zane Durant, the defensive tackle from Penn State. And 130, the other Penn State running back, Nick Singleton. So they're the guys that might hope to get into round 3, maybe even round 2 if they get really lucky. But they might also be left on the outside waiting for day 3. Now, there's 20 more I've got as in with a shout, and those are ranked between 131 and 150. So let's reel those off. Ephesian Prysox, the cornerback from Washington, is at 131. 132, Marlin Klein, tight end Michigan. 133, DeMonte Capehart, defensive tackle Clemson. 134, Brian Parker, offensive tackle Duke. 135, Cage Casey, offensive tackle Boise State. 136, Jaden Canady, cornerback Oregon. 137, Demetrius Crownover, offensive tackle Texas A&M. 138, Travis Burke, offensive tackle Memphis. 139, interesting candidate Cole Payton, the quarterback at North Dakota State. 140, Jude Bowery, offensive tackle Boston College. 141, Nadami Tucker, edge Western Michigan. 142, Keyshawn Elliott, inside linebacker Arizona State. 143, Xavier Harris, defensive tackle Ole Miss. 144, Eli Raridon, tight end Notre Dame. 145, Jack Kelly, the inside linebacker from Brigham Young. 146, Demond Claiborne, running back Wake Forest. 147, Bo Stevens, guard Iowa. 148, Taylor Green, quarterback Arkansas, or is he a quarterback? Tight end, wide receiver, possible. I don't know. Somebody might want to convert him. Anyway, moving on. 149, another injury-plagued guy who is hurting his draft stock badly. Isaiah Weld, offensive tackle, Oregon. And 150, Josh Cameron, the wide receiver out of Baylor. So there might be one or two, because obviously the lower down the draft year, you might get people take a real flyer on people from outside of my top 150. But I would strongly suspect that nearly all, if not all, of the day two picks will come off the lists I've given you in this piece. And as I say, I expect to try and stay ahead of the pack in terms of being the most accurate source again. So I hope that helps you know what you might look to expect on day two. And let's see how that pans out. And I'll come back tomorrow with my thoughts on how people have done and the remainder of my big board down to number 260, basically. I might go a little bit further, but I'll see how I feel tomorrow. But I'll give you the rest of the candidates I might see going on day three. So that's it for me for now. Enjoyed day two of the draft, and I hope your team gets what they want. See you soon.